are you thinking about having an art show? Now, most artists think about this at some point. Either when will I have a show? Who will put the show on for me? Should I have my own show? That is, I think, part and parcel of being an artist. It is eventually, on top of social media, on top of all this, you want to put a bunch of people in a room and show them what you've been working on. And I think that itself is a challenge for a lot of artists because it is a pretty significant project. I'm having my third show, it's coming up, and I thought I would document the process of having your own show. Now, as a caveat, this is my own show. This is not a gallery putting on a show for me, which I'm sure would be very much nicer and appreciated. So I'm gonna go straight for it. There's a couple of key questions you need to ask yourself if you want to do this. And the number one most important question is, why are you doing this? So just to give you some kind of reference point, this is a very time intensive project. It will significantly reduce the time you have to produce art. Because you have to find locations, you got to find people, you got to tell people, you got to market, you got to prepare, you got to find a bartender potentially, you got to buy food, you got to buy drinks, you got to transport. So that is one avenue of difficulty. Second avenue of difficulty is you kind of need to have enough art to put in a room. And, small art, big art, doesn't matter. But if you don't have enough to actually properly fill the room, I think it's kind of a weird vibe. Then you have to decide if you are interested in the wonderful experience of having people in a room judge what you've been doing. And I laugh because it is terribly nerve wracking and very stressful and can go either way. Okay, I've had two shows. My first show was 2018 and it went very well. I sold a lot of art, a lot of people came out. It was so good that I decided that I would have another show the next year. Now, this is a terrible line of thinking, but it forced me aggressively out of my comfort zone to create a body of work within 1 year. And I had another show. It was fine. It wasn't as busy. I didn't sell as much art. So I have those two reference points. Now that was 2019. I had that show. 2019? More or less. Yeah, it could have been 2019. So then it is now 2024. Okay? I have been working on the next show for 5 years. And I believe that taking the time to create, to develop, to learn, to grow is a crucial part of the process. So if you're watching this video and you have been producing art for years or consistently and you have a lot of stuff that you're genuinely proud of, then you should start thinking about, should I have a show? Like if you're thinking like, let's say you have two paintings at home and you really want to have a show, you should definitely be like, okay, I'm going to have a show. But you got to produce all that work first. And it's not just 10 pieces. It's 10 of the pieces that you like. So you got to create a lot. I've created like maybe 500 pieces in the last 5 years, just like producing and learning and generating ideas to focus on the core concepts of the show. I have done this 3 times. I have done this 2 times in the past. And I have done it right the first time, and I have done it not perfectly the second time. And I know that the second time I didn't do it perfectly because I had my best friend message me. And it was like the night before the show, and he doesn't live here anymore. And he's like, "Man, like last time, like you really went all out to tell everyone to show up." And I was like, I almost had this like egotistical realization that the first event was so good that everyone was going to come. I genuinely thought that doesn't matter. It was so good, there's no way anyone's missing out. And I was wrong. I probably got half the attendance the second time. And it wasn't because the art was worse or I didn't do anything like the same venue. It was really because I had the ego to believe that first event was so good that second event I'm a shoe in for a huge crowd. So I'll go into that. And this is again a video specifically dedicated to a solo show. And I fully support anyone that wants to get together with other artists and their friends and put together a show more easily with like a few people. And I think that's a great way to experience it. I do it like this just because I have what I believe enough of a network and friends to bring the people out. And I produce so much art that I think I can pull it off. So let's get back to the important questions. Why are you doing this? An art show is not for the faint of heart. And I say that with love only because I think as artists, many of us, we don't fear criticism. It's not that. It is you spend all this time in your studio producing and no one sees it. So the only real eyes you have on it are yours. And like obviously maybe you're posting on social media, but at the end of the day, when you try to bring everyone together, there's a different energy because people are there to look at the art up close in person together. All the art's in the room, everyone's in the room. So I think it is one of the most important things for an artist to do. I think it's a liberating feeling of taking what you've produced and putting it out in public. But I think it's a fear that you're going to have to learn to cope with. One is to sell a bunch of art. And I would say that an art show is the riskiest possible way to sell a bunch of art. And that is just because if you want to have an art show, you have to rent the space, find the space, etc. You then gotta tell everyone, market it, etc. You then have to stockpile art for a very long period of time so that you have enough art to put in the show, which could mean a year or more without sales. Then you gotta drinks, food if you want to do that. Bouncer if you need to do that. I think in my city, I think you need to have someone at the door. Bartender if you choose to do that. So it's a big cost, both time wise and financially, to have one event in the hopes that you sell a bunch of art. I think a lot of people when they put on a show don't actually sell that much art. I think I don't have a reference or data for this, and therefore the cost kind of digs a little bit harder than it should. Now, if you're just trying to sell art, I genuinely think that if you can sell a piece as you go, make a new piece, sell that piece, like keep it flowing, I think that's the most ideal way to do it. And the only reason why I'm having a show contrary to that specific belief is that I just have a lot of friends that like to go to events. And I believe that my city doesn't have the right events for artists. We have a lot of cool bougie events and we have clubs and we have concerts, but my city is devoid of a lot of artistic events. There's a show here and there, and I think that's what's missing in the city. So I'm willing to be the person that puts on the events along with a handful of artists in the city. And therefore, I'm not really obsessed with the cost of the event, nor am I obsessed with selling any of the art, which this is the first time I'm going into a show where I'm not really concerned about the art sales. I'm willing to stomach the cost, and I'm doing it because I just want to put on an event. So that's one thing to think about. The second reason to have an art show is precisely more what I'm doing, is you just want to bring a lot of people together to appreciate the art that you've been doing, to show people what you've been doing, and to get almost some feedback to guide you, I guess. I'm not sure if I really am doing that. And I think that's I think that's an admirable way to pursue a show. And I think this is more similar to how art has been displayed historically, where it wasn't like, got to make the money, got to pay the bills, got to pay the bills. I think artists produced art, put it into a salon, and then sure you sell it, but it's really more about showing. And I think the show aspect is really, it's really the core. And like obviously, little asterisk here, if you are an artist working full time and you got to sell art to pay the bills, then having a for fun show or a show where it's more about showing than selling, questionable decision unless you have the money and you can afford it. For me personally, I had to stop. So I was working full time as an artist for almost 3 years, and I was running in, and I actually quit my job so I could have my next show. But then I picked up so many commissions on the way, and I was selling enough art that I was like, okay, I'm staying afloat, paying my bills. I had absolutely no time or bandwidth to produce for the show. So I have a job now, and I think that's a crucial component. And I don't think there's anything wrong with having a job and doing art, because I have been able to produce consistently for about a year now the artworks that will be in this show. So ask yourself why you're doing it. That's number one. Okay, the mechanics of how to find a location will be an episode. Okay, the mechanics of selecting which art will be an episode. Okay, I have two series I think I'll be displaying. One I'm currently working on, and the second one is like, I don't know. It's like a project I did that I really personally love. Like, I love it. I don't think anyone is going to like it. I think people will look at it and say this is kitsch garbage. But I love it. So I'm putting it in. To my detriment, I'm sure. And I'll talk about that eventually. Then I'll make an episode on how to market an event, which will include things like how to make sure people show up, how to reach out to literally everyone on earth without being annoying, leveraging your friends, social media, your professional network, advertising, trying to get gallery representation to show up. I'm not really obsessed with that part, but I am going to make sure that the room is full. Okay, that's another episode. What else will and then I'll go through probably like some admin logistics, like should you buy drinks or should you provide alcohol, right? There's two schools of thought. One is you can either provide free liquor for everyone. The other one is you sell liquor, which will help offset some of the cost. I don't know which I'm going to do. I might do like a really cheap liquor or free and then maybe some wristbands for like nicer drinks. I don't know. That's not super important, but it's something you got to think about. Then the details of like bartender, a bouncer, of transportation, of permits. In my city, you need a permit to have an event like this, right? And sometimes the city people will show up and shut events down, so you don't want to be that guy. I think that's probably all I can think of for now. 4 episodes, and I'll probably actually touch on what you want to do with social media up until the event, right? I have been stockpiling content. I haven't posted any photos of any of my art on my artist Instagram, which ironically is actually not under the same name as this YouTube channel, because I don't get it. Doesn't matter. So those are coming. So if you're really interested in seeing this play out, like the show is happening. Okay, I don't have a very aggressively firm timeline, but I have a pretty solid timeline. This is painting 5 of 11. So we're almost there. And like I technically have enough art finished to do the show tomorrow, but there's a specific grouping of paintings that I'm gonna have in this thing. I drew them, I want them there, so I'm just gonna that's the show. It's gonna be these 11 paintings. So that is really what I'm going to do with this series. And so if you're an artist, if you're interested in seeing, give me a follow, reach out. I've done this a few times. I have friends that have done this. It's about as nerve-wracking an experience as you could possibly imagine. But I think there's a lot of benefit to it. So I think that's it for now. Thank you for watching. If you have watched, tune in. I'll try to put out a video. I don't have a timeline right now because it's kind of like hit and miss, but as often as I can when I find that it is a relevant time. And that will actually kind of give you a gauge of the timeline from I have most of the work done for the show and it's time to get it ready. And I'll try to film those. So thank you. Good luck. And remember, if you see artists on social media, let us work together to boost artists on the algorithm so that we can take over. Peace.